is evidence indicating that more people are single now than ever before. And the likelihood of these people ever getting married is pretty low, right? Now, some people, conservatives to be specific, freak out about this and they think, oh my God, the nuclear family, we gotta do whatever we can to protect it. We need to get people to get married, men and women, they need to have babies, Christian values, and if we don't do it, the morals of this country will just fall apart. But the reality is there's actually some upsides to living a single life. And so I want to get into that a little bit. Now, first of all, a stat that blew me away a little bit. By the time today's young adults reach the age of 50, about 1 in 4 of them will never marry, which I believe because you look at the stats or the surveys with millennials and their views on marriage and all that, and a lot of them say, or at least a sizable portion of them say that they're not interested in ever getting married, that they enjoy the independence, they like having relationships, but they don't really see the need to get married. Now, this is Bella DePaulo. She is a researcher from UCSB, and here's what she has to say about this situation. She says they're more likely than married couple to encourage, help, and socialize with their friends and neighbors. They're also more likely to visit, support, advise, and stay in touch with their siblings and parents. So she's comparing single adults to those who have gotten married, and she's saying, look, just because you're not married doesn't mean that you're gonna live a lonely life. In fact, you're way more likely to be social than married couples. And I totally agree with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're dropping out of social circles?
Yeah, but it feels so good.
Yeah, right? That's the thing.
Because she's with who she likes.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but I don't want to go out. I just want to go home and see the person I love and like, you know, be an introvert and be with my dog. But like there's a lot of downsides to doing that because your life becomes too dependent on the companionship of one person. You have to maintain your friendships. And I think a lot of people who do get married kind of drop off the face of the earth. And that's not good.
I blame George Clooney.
Why is that?
Because he made being single for so long so sexy. And I think that a lot of people, and
it's sexy for men.
I'm joking, but
right?
I think a lot, yes, I know a lot of guys that are like, I'm not getting married until like I'm 60. Even Jamie Foxx once said, I'm getting married when I'm 100. And I'm gonna die when I'm 104, and I'm gonna be married for the rest of my life. Like he was like, it's this glamorization of being single and having Tinder and beautiful women at your fingertip, and you know.
So I think that there is a double standard when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like if a man says, I am going to be a bachelor for as long as possible, like everyone is like,
yeah.
High five. I got so many high fives when I say that.
right.
And then bones, we do this. Good job.
But with women, like we talked about this in a previous story, like you're a woman in her 30s, you haven't gotten married yet, people start looking at you like, what's wrong with you, right? And so that double standard exists, but I think it is luckily changing a little bit.
Yeah.
But whether you're a man or a woman, there's no reason to feel sorry or bad about being single because there are benefits. Single people also volunteer more for social service organizations, educational groups, hospitals, and organizations devoted to the arts than people who are married.
Well, because people with kids and families are too busy getting their life sucked out of them by their offspring.
Yes, but I just want to say one thing because I'm not 30. So I mean, I'm not 50 either, but I'm not 30. But
Girl, you look good. That's all.
Well, I appreciate it. But what I will say is this, because I do engage in conversation with women that are my age and people my age and older. And one thing they always talk about is this younger generation of people that are lost. And what I think is a bunch of young people who are found, who really find themselves and know who they are and are able to say things like, I don't know if I want to get married. I don't know. I mean, you know, I make more money than my boyfriend. So besides all of this stuff, what I do want to say is that I celebrate young women that are able to do that because I come from a culture, I was raised by a Cuban man and a generation of women, and not my generation, but the generation before me and my mother, who really had to, you know, they always had to hide behind a man and they couldn't celebrate their wins like they wanted to because it would make the man feel uncomfortable. And this feminist and empowerment movement of young women, I'm really excited about it. I think that to hear a young woman say to me, I don't know if I want to have children. I don't know if I want to get married. I don't think what's wrong with her. I think, damn, she really knows herself. I wish that would have been my friend when I was a teenager. So kudos to the young girls out there.
Yeah, and I have friends who have not gotten married for who are still not married, who are not even close to getting married. And I have other friends that got married early, and it's just a different experience. Like the experience that I've seen in the healthy relationships of people who got married early is they're just discovering everything together. I mean, it's hard to be a fully formed person when you're 23.
Absolutely.
These folks got married at that point, and they continued to develop in a healthy relationship together, looking at stuff kind of through the, with different exact perspectives, but generally together. And there's others who shouldn't have gotten married. They should have done what they did, which is stay single for a longer amount of time so they could figure out who they are and fully be able to look around through their own eyes as opposed to what society kind of tells you have to do, and then adequately choose who they should be with. And they made good choices.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of describing it. And also, I think for women specifically, there was this, for a long time, we would always hear that line, like, you can do it all, women can do it all, you can work and raise kids and be married and all that. And I think women, some women, not all, and some women can do it all, right? But I'm gonna say, quite honestly, from my perspective, I don't think I can do it all.
Well, I think we need to redefine what your all is, because I think that belief that being able to do it all is being a mom, and that may not be what your definition. Because I think you're doing it all,
Yeah, I mean, if you depends on who you're having a conversation with. If you're talking to my mom, I'm not doing it all. Like, where's the baby, right?
Right.
But it kind of.
Where is the baby?
I don't know if the baby's ever gonna happen.
Oh, crap.
I know.
What are we here for?
I had the babies, and I'm like, go girl.
And the thing is, okay, so I like my life and I like my
That's
career, and so. Moral of the story, doesn't matter if you're single, doesn't matter if you're married, doesn't matter if you have kids or don't have kids, you have to do what makes you feel comfortable. Because as soon as you let your family or society pressure you into doing what they think you should do, you're gonna make a decision that's not gonna make you happy.
Yeah,
right?
I have friends who got married and decided we're not gonna have kids for a while, we're just gonna be happy, and then after that, we'll have a kid. And then they were like, wait, did we just say we'll only have kids when we're not happy anymore? Which
is also not a good idea.
But it was a good development. They got to the point where they're like, I don't see this happiness stopping, but I definitely don't want to wait until it does to have kids. This is the time. So they were able to.
Well, I'm the mother of a daughter, and I make her look at people that are like you, and I said, because she's like, what if I don't want to have kids? I said, that's absolutely fine. The only thing that I've ever poured into my daughter, because I told her, don't get caught up in those magazine articles that tell you there's something wrong with you if you don't want to get married. The only thing I will encourage people to tell their daughters is that they're intelligent and that they are highly intelligent, because that will never go away. All that superficial stuff will fade. So that's all I've ever said. Here, read this article about how smart you are, and then you can make your choices. Make your own choices.
And I will leave you with one final bit on this story that I think was really interesting, just comparing single people to married people. Studies have shown that people who stay single develop more confidence in their own opinions and undergo more personal growth and development than people who marry. They value meaningful work more than married people do. They may also have more opportunities to enjoy the solitude that many of them savor. Solitude is really, really nice, I will say.
That's it. I'm never getting married again.
If you're a member of the Young Turks, you not only get the whole 2-hour Young Turks show on demand anytime you want, ad-free, but you also get so many other shows. Old School, you'll love it. Aggressive Progressive for guys who are true progressives. Now also Nerd Alert for gaming and tech. What the Flick for movie reviews. You will love it. Check it out right now at tytnetwork.com/join.